Yo, welcome to the Ant-Man channel. It is Wednesday the 22nd of July 2015, and welcome to my show. I'm Ant-Man. I have an article in front of me from ClashDaily.com with Doug Giles. It is written by Candace Harden. It was published yesterday, but I just thought I'd keep it for today. Greece, another helpful reminder socialism doesn't work. Greece is in the battle for its economic life as its prime minister struggles to join the cold economic facts and the idealism of his party. Although Tsipras is very popular with the voters, he has yet to strike a deal that satisfies both those who would shake off the austerity bailout budget of the European Union and his idealistic left-leaning associates within his party. This inability to find a solution has cost the Greece dearly. They were requesting 53 billion euros on a bailout, but now the total has increased to 86 billion euros. It's a lot of euros. When the EU bailout money ran dry, the banks in Greece were forced to close and depositors were limited to a withdrawal of 60 euros a day from automatic teller machines. Margaret Thatcher is quoted as saying, "The problem with socialism is that eventually you run out of the other people's money." You run out of other people's money, huh? If you don't know who Margaret Thatcher is, then yeah, you should find out. Um, that's a good thing about knowing history is that you know what works and what doesn't work, and that our system here in America, the republic, the constitutional republic that we have here, has nothing to do with democracy. Democracy is like a word that it's like another buzzword, like evolution's a buzzword, and it just makes you buy into a Hegelian dialectic of a two-party system. These things always throughout history always lead to socialism or communism, and they go into despotism eventually. Greece has become a prime example of what happens when you run out of other people's money. Workers in Greece are allowed to retire at age 57 if they choose. They receive a full pension. Greece's problems stem from the fact that in order to allow this kind of lifestyle, the country was forced to borrow money in order to sustain its pension system and economy. When it became apparent that Greece was going to default on its financial obligations, the crisis caused the EU to have to bail the country out of its problems. Part of the deal was austerity restrictions on the people in order for the country to remain within the EU and restructure the debt. Socialism reads well on paper. Everyone is equal, everyone has a share, no one is above anyone else. The government takes care of the citizens from the cradle to the grave. Government is responsible for every aspect of the people's financial life. That sounds miserable. And I hate when people use other countries as a example of look at their economy or something. And it's like, you got to realize that they're living on borrowed time. You know what I mean? Like a lot of them are because of the system that they're using. The system that they're using, it like Margaret Thatcher said, you run out of other people's money. Is ultimately that's the quotable there that explains this all. But that sounds like a nightmare. I mean, I don't like government intrusion into my personal life, but that sounds like the government's all over your personal life if you live in Greece. That sounds terrible. I mean, if you know anything about American heritage or the Western heritage of this country, you would know that these things are just, that we have unalienable rights, man. We are human beings. We're persons. You know what I mean? Each one of us have, a say in our country. And these types of countries, no, you don't really have a say about anything, and you're not really treated like a person. You're more treated like some kind of a number. And the kind of system that we have here in America, the consumer progressive culture that we have of, why we're so busy all the time and no room for the Bible in our lives, no room for our own families in our lives, is because those ideologies are just, I don't know, just not, we're adopting things that we shouldn't be adopting, and we should be adopting our own heritage here because we should know through history what works and what doesn't work. And, this lifestyle also, it causes degeneration because, we bring up the next generation to know what's good for them. But we live in this new age spirituality that it's like, let your kids just wander off and figure out life for themselves and see what works for them. Follow your heart. We have all these sayings that sound good on the outside, but they're really bad for you on the inside. They're really they don't hold any water. They're wandering through the dark, blind, and you know what I mean, and just kind of trying to hit wherever you can land. And nobody should ever aim at, you should aim higher than that. You should have higher standards than that than just accepting wherever you land, while you jump out of the boat. You know what I mean? It's to me a shame, you know what I mean? But they kind of condition us and acclimate us to be that way. You know, that's why they're like always trying to raise the minimum wage, because it's like not about how much you can make, it's how least you can make or something. It's always kind of like I don't know, it's just we have to break away from this consumerist culture, and we have to be more family and we have to be more family oriented, because that's how our business is going to be prosperous. Because you know, and the best way to fight against this big government that we have now here in the West, like in America, is if we could have, you know, we could go back to our grassroots and become entrepreneurs and inventors again, bringing up our family to help us build these small businesses, and to compete in our you know, in our economy with bigger, we know, with corporations and stuff like that. I guess, you know, people should know better, that they should support small businesses in their neighborhoods, in their, you know, around them in their community. Because when you go to Walmart and when you go to big evil corporations like that, you're putting that money doesn't come back into the community. That money goes to Walmart and they do whatever they want with it. And they're evil geniuses, in my opinion. They're like, mwahaha, like we just, you know what I mean? They just suck our money out from out of us. And I don't know. We need to know how to deal better with our money, and the best way to do that is through the liberal arts. You know, you got to be responsible with your money. You also have to know. You also have to maintain some kind of integrity when it comes to virtue, when it comes to raising. I mean, like just having your priorities in order. What are the most important institutions in our country? The family. The family and the church, because the family cultivates the things that are taught in the church, and that way we can deal prosperously in our free market economy. When you understand capitalism right, we know that that's another buzzword, capitalism, that it's used in a negative way to also it's propaganda to get people to believe in that America's not exceptional, America's a evil empire and whatever. Our foreign policy is bad, but you know what I mean. What we stand for and what our foundations here are in America are worth holding on to and making them valuable to us, so that we can fight against evil. This is an evil government we have, and we have to fight against it. It is bad. And the best way to fight against it is at the grassroots. And that starts with the people around you. So, you know, we don't want to end up like Greece, you guys. And that's where we're going to head. We're headed toward that, because we're cultural Marxists. We might as well already become socialists. You know what I mean? We're like ants that just feed a system. We just try to keep it going. Wall Street, we just try to keep it going, and we're just all a bunch of numbers. You know what I mean? And that's not good. We should have more respect for ourselves and for what we stand for as Americans, because we're the laughing stock of the world, in my opinion, right now, and it's embarrassing. It kind of sucks. So, this type of lifestyle is predestined to eventually breed a generation of loafers. There are those who will allow themselves to become dependent in order to avoid personal industry and evade the four-letter word work at all costs. That's another thing that has crept into the society in America too. Like, someone else is doing the important things that I can't do. Like, you make excuses for yourself that you don't want to live up to that responsibility of what it is to be an American citizen, because you have like some imagination that someone else is taking care of it for you. That's the beautiful thing of America, is that you are the one who's responsible for your freedom. You know what I mean? We have so many great men in this country who are civil rights leaders who are quoted by saying stuff about being free and stuff like that, that it starts with you. It starts with where you're at. Like, you know what I mean? The truth will set you free is what the Bible says. You know what I mean? So freeing yourself has a lot to do with being willing to be free. You know what I mean? We know that there's a great responsibility and there's great consequences that can come with being that way. And we need to live for a higher calling and be good and be looking out for the next generation, instead of just being selfish and abusing our liberty by entertaining everything that, you know what I mean, that the world's entertaining, and not being productive, being lazy and slothful. We need to be, you know what I mean, on the ball and productive and looking to pour out blessing and be kind of like an encourager and someone who uplifts other people. You know, we should be looking toward those things. Let's see. Since 2008, the United States citizenry has become increasingly dependent on food stamps. The numbers on the food stamp rolls have increased exponentially, whether due to high unemployment and a lack of viable jobs with a living wage. The working Americans have come to support the non-productive with the funds generated by the productive. It's true. It is absolutely true. The EU reluctantly bailed Greece out in order for it to stay in the Union. As Greeks rebel under austerity and lean toward a utopic economic society, other countries in the EU, such as Germany, lose patience. They are less willing to put in money to keep the state afloat. It's because it's so unstable. The United States alone is alone when it comes to hoping that other countries would help us out in such a way. There is no EU. We have to come up with our own ability to pay the bills. It seems that the way of Greece and its current financial troubles would offer a clue to the United States that they are on a treacherous path. The ones that work cannot support the ones that choose not to perform at normal level. The math will never work out. Yeah, jobs are such a big deal right now. That's why I think a lot of people like Donald Trump right now. Because Donald Trump is like the guy that's talking about, he's like, he's hyping up like I'm the job president. You want jobs, America? You better pick me. And he's very outspoken and straightforward, you know what I mean? And those are all good things, but he's really rich, and I always have to raise a red flag on people who make too much money. And it's not because I demonize people who are rich or anything, because I'd be a hypocrite. Because I'm well off, and I'm better off than some people. But you know what I mean? It's not that just inherently it's bad to be rich, but I mean it's always it's good to look at someone's track record as to what he does with his money and what he's, you know what I mean, how consistent he is with his word and keeping with it. And how consistent he is in his worldview. Because, for example, Hillary Clinton used to be for traditional marriage, and now she's not. It just shows you that, like, a politician is not what you want to be your next president. And we can do it. I mean, honestly, I believe that we can wake up and we will have a great revival in America. It's in our blood here to be that way. It's what we're raised to be here in America, and we're. You know what I mean? We should never give up hope as to what people are, what people are gonna, what kind of people are gonna wake up, and you should always pray for people, that we will become self-sustainable, that we will plant more gardens, that we will, do this kind of stuff, man, and the family that prays together stays together, and in our times where it seems like our government's trying to destabilize us so that they can take us down economically. That we should be praying with our family, and that we should be cultivating things that bring us together more and more, so that we aren't, because then you're becoming a victim of this system, and we have to shake ourselves out of this kind of like licentious American lifestyle that is bred in the culture by thinking that America owes us something, and that we could just sit back and do nothing and just enjoy all the perverseness that I see being generated through the mainstream media as the new normal. Of what everybody does nowadays, the open sexuality of everything, and just openly and hypersexualized is everything, and you know what I mean, everything's flipped on its head because of that. You know what I mean? I have videos, and I have nothing to apologize. That the fact of the matter is that when you see that Jezebel spirit, when you see that, it turns everything on its head, and the males start to act really feminine, and the women start to act very masculine, and it's because of the power of sexuality that women they have a very powerful, leverage over men when it comes to those things. And when, we need to uphold, our morality here. You know what I mean? It's the morality that's going down, but it's ultimately because maybe the gospel's not being preached. You know what I mean? I like how I've heard two pastors lately quote this, that we're not trying to make bad people good, we're trying to make dead people live, and that's what the gospel does. I think that at the root of all our problems here in America is that we need bold men and women of God to come up and be bold and speak out courageously for God, and no matter what the politically correct terms are of our day, we have to continue to proclaim the truth of the gospel and pray that people will open their eyes. I think people are hungry and thirsty for it. We need to build ourselves up in the word so that we won't be timid, and that we will stand up to our culture that believes in, this postmodern New Age Enlightenment ideology that, that anything goes. We have to tell them that at the heart of all this is the devil, and that he wants to take us down. And it's always, go through the entire history of ancient Israel in the Bible, you're given these stories so that you can have an example of what happens to a nation when they stray away from God, when they go away from doing what's right and being good and all that. So just keep that in mind. That's why we're in this system. So we could fix this. God bless.